Good evening, my dear students. Today, in the continuation of reproduction in plants and animals, now we shall see structure of pollen grains. Right? Here, this is very important topic: structure of pollen grains. You have to draw at least. It's a book back question also, right? See here in this structure, you can notice two types of cells here. Okay? And this is what we call it as exine, and this is intine. And here you can see a small opening in the inner layer that is called the germ pore. Right? Here, this is what we call it as vegetative cells. Vegetative cells. And this is what we call it as generative nucleus. And this is what we call it as generative cells. Okay, this is the structure of pollen grains. It's very important. It has two layered wall. One is the outer exine, which is very hard, whereas the intine, which is very thin, and in there is a prominent aperture in the intine layer. Is called germ pore. Then this intine is made up of cellulose and pectin. This is also very important point, right? Then it composed of two cells. One is vegetative cell. Vegetative cells. The other one is generative cells. The vegetative cells which develops a pollen tube, whereas the generative cells divides mitotically to produce two gametes, two male gametes. Okay, my dear student. So this is about the structure of pollen grain. Here you can see the exine, and the exine you also notice small projection like this, the spiny projection, which helps to fix with the sticky stigma, right? That's why you can see small projections like this. Whereas which is very hard layer, whereas the inner is very thin layer. In that there is a prominent aperture in the inner layer that is called the germ pore. Here You know very well the vegetative cells which produce the pollen tube. This pollen tube project outside through this germ pore. That's a very important point you have to remember. The germ pore through which the pollen tube emerges out from the pollen grains. Right? Another interesting thing, this layer is made up of cellulose. You know very well cellulose, a kind of carbohydrate, and pectin. This that layer is made up of a chemical component like cellulose and pectin. And here it contains two important cells. One is the vegetative cell, another one is generative cells. The vegetative cells which forms the pollen tube, whereas the generative cells which divides mitotically to produce two male gametes. So this structure is very important. Now we pass on to another topic. Structure of gynoecium. Right? You know very well gynoecium, which is the female part of a flower, which contains carpels. Then there are, the structure of this is also another important 2 marks diagram, structure of gynoecium. Here, this is what we call it a stigma, and this is style, and this part is ovary. And inside that ovary, there is a ovule, or otherwise what we call it as female gamete. Female gamete. And this is the thalamus, by which the ovary is attached. Right, okay, this is the simple diagram, structure of gynoecium. You can expect the 2 marks question, it's also good back question. Female part of flower, which contains carpels, right? And here you can see there are 3 parts. One is the stigma, right? Another one is the style, and third one is ovary. That ovary contains ovule. Ovule. So this is about structure of gynoecium. Then next we come to another important 4 mark question. You know very well. This is very important. Structure of ovule. Structure of ovule. Here you can draw like this. First, you have to start with the embryo sac. This is the embryo sac, and which is surrounded by another layer, nucellus, and which is surrounded by integuments. So this is what we call it as thalassa. Thalassa is actually a balancing organ, thalassa. And this part, what we call it as nucellus, which is the main part of nucellus, the main part of the ovule. And inside that, this is what we call it as embryo sac. Embryo sac. Embryo sac. And inside the embryo sac, in this corner, you can see some cells. They are called antipodal cells. Antipodal cells. In the center, you can see 2 structures like this, and this is what actually a polar bodies or polar nuclei. Polar nuclei. And this area, once again, you can notice another group of cells. And this is the egg. These two cells are called synergids, together called egg apparatus. Egg apparatus. And this end, what we call it as micropyle, very important word, micropyle. Okay, this practical also, in a practical class also this is very important. You have to observe this ovule, very important, so that you have to prepare well. It's a standard question. Okay. So now we have to describe what is ovule. You know that the main part of the ovule is nucellus. Nucellus, and this nucellus is surrounded by two integuments. And these integuments leaving a small opening here. That is what we call it as micropyle. It's a opening through which the pollen tube as well as the gamete, male gamete, enter into the egg that is embryo sac. So micropyle is an opening. And then another structure, what we call it as chalaza. Actually, it's a balancing structure. Is in the basal part. The basal part of the ovule, there is a structure called a chalaza. It's a balancing organ. And then you can see that funiculus. What is funiculus? Here, this is what we call it as funiculus or funiculus. Actually, the funiculus is the structure which connects the ovule to ovary. So the ovule is present inside the ovary, which is connected to the ovary through a structure called the funiculus. Then you know very well the embryo sac. The embryo sac contains 7 cells plus 1 nuclei. 1 nuclei. Right here you can see the 7 cells you can drop into that. The cells which is located, you know what is egg apparatus. Egg apparatus, the cells which are located near the micropyle end. This is the micropyle end. These cells, these 3 cells collectively called egg apparatus, which contains an egg plus 2 synergids. 2 synergids. Whereas the opposite to micropyle end, near the nucellus or chalaza end, you can see this end is the chalaza end. There you can see antipodal cells. Antipodal cells, which is in the chalaza end. Okay. So then, in the middle of the embryo sac, there is another nuclei that is called the polar nuclei. These are the key points that you have to write, right? Okay, this is the structure, or if you draw the structure, if it comes under 4 marks question, the structure carries 1 mark, this point carries 2 or 3 marks. So remember, it's very important. Structure of ovule, my dear student, is a very important question, right? Okay. Next, we pass on to the process of sexual reproduction. There are 2 processes. One is pollination. The other one is fertilization. One is pollination, another one is fertilization. This pollination is followed by fertilization. These 2 are very important, which takes place only in the flowering plants, like flowering plants. Okay, now we will see what is the advantages of advantages or importance of pollination. One is two things. The first thing, pollination results fertilization. After fertilization of the flower, only fruits and seeds are formed. If there is no fertilization, then there will be no seed. You know, my dear student, what is parthenocarpy? Parthenocarpy are seedless fruits, which don't have any seed because where there is no fertilization, without fertilization. Like that, pollination is followed by the fertilization. So, the result of pollination leads to fertilization of the ovary and develops into seed. The second one is, as a result of new pollination, new varieties are formed. You know how new varieties are formed. In the pollination, there are two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. In the cross-pollination, there is a chance of new combination of genes or recombination of genes, and that results new varieties, new characters in the plant population. That's advantages, two advantages. One is the fertilization. The fertilization leads to the formation of fruits and the seeds, and the second important advantage, new varieties of plants can be produced. So these are advantages of the pollination. Right? Okay. Now we come to the very, very important 4 marks question, pollination. So you have to define what is pollination. What is pollination? Transfer of pollen grains. You know what is pollen grains? The male part. Transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of a flower is called a pollination. You know, my dear, this basic question. Pollination. In that pollination, there are two types. One is self-pollination. Self-pollination. The second one is cross-pollination. Cross-pollination. Okay. In this, here you can notice one important point. The self-pollination is also called the autogamy, otherwise known as autogamy. Self-pollination, self-auto. Whereas the cross-pollination is also called the allogamy. This term is not given in your book, but it's very important. Allogamy. Because autogamy is given, but this term is not given in your book, so you have to write it there. Allogamy. Allo means different. Right? Then you have to define what is pollination. So in that under this topic pollination, you have to define what is self-pollination. What is self-pollination? The transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same flower. Same flower. Right? That is called a self-pollination. Example, you can notice that. Example, hibiscus. Hibiscus is the best example for self-pollination. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma of the same flower. Right? Then what is cross-pollination? The transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of another plant of the same species. Same species, but another plant. That is what we call it as cross-pollination. Right? Example, you can see grapes, plums. These are all best example for cross-pollination. You know the definition, first point. Second point, and this is very important, you have to say two things. One is advantage, disadvantage. Advantage and disadvantages of self-pollination. What is self-pollination? What is the advantages of the self-pollination? It is possible in certain bisexual flowers. Bisexual flower. You know what is bisexual flowers? Flowers with both male and female part, androecium and gynoecium. There only you can, it is possible. Self-pollination is possible. So bisexual is possible in certain. Self-pollination is possible in certain bisexual flowers. This is one advantage. Then another interesting thing, no wastage of No wastage of pollen grain. Why? Because the anther, the pollen grains of the same flower falls on the stigma of the same flower. The pollen grains falls on the stigma of the same flower. So there is no chance of wastage of pollen grains. And third advantage, do not depend on agents for pollination. See, these flowers do not depend on agents like wind or water or air or insects or animals for transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. So, since it's a bisexual plant. So these are the three advantages of the self-pollination. Then what is the disadvantages here? The disadvantages are seeds are less in number. Seeds are less in number. First point. Then second point, what is the second disadvantage here? The endosperm is minute. You know, my dear student, endosperm. Actually, the endosperm is a nutrient which provides nutrients to the developing embryo, whether it is in plants. Endosperm is provide nutrients. Since the seeds contains less amount of endosperm and which produce only weak plants, So these are the disadvantages. First of all, seeds are less in number. Endosperm is minute. No new varieties. No new varieties. Why? No new varieties because self-pollination. The pollen grains falls on the stigma of the same plant. So there is no chance of new combinations, recombination of genes, right? Since it's from the same plant or the same species, same flower, there is no chance for new combination of genes. That's why no new varieties form. These are the disadvantages of self-pollination. Then now we pass on to cross-pollination. What is the advantage? Advantage and disadvantage. Disadvantage. Advantages of cross-pollination. Here, first point, new varieties. New varieties are because there is a chance of new combination of genes which produce new character. So these are advantages of cross-pollination. Then second one, we produce more viable or bigger seeds. The seeds are more viable or bigger means they have the ability, all the seeds have the ability to develop or produce a better plant, right? This is the advantage. These two are the advantages. It can produce new varieties or new characters in the plant and plant population, and these seeds are more viable seeds, are bigger. That means they have the ability to germinate and develop into a better plant. Then the disadvantages, and you can add one also, right? The disadvantages, need agents for dispersal. The cross-pollination occurs either the wind or water or insects or animals. So this is one of the disadvantages. And another interesting thing, there is a wastage of pollen grains. Why there is a wastage of pollen grains? Here the pollen grains have to travel number of kilometers. In meantime, some of them are not meet their respective stigma. So there will be a wastage of pollen grains. Sometimes it may produce unwanted character. This is another important thing. They may produce unwanted character. So they need reagents, wastage of pollen grains, and sometimes may produce unwanted character. Okay. my dear students. So you can come across this. It's very important. You have to produce like this. Pollination. It's a very interesting and important topic. You can produce self-pollination, cross-pollination, orthogamy, allogamy. Then advantages, disadvantages, advantages, and the disadvantages. Okay, my dear students. Now we pass on to another the second process of sexual reproduction, namely the fertilization. Fertilization. Process of fertilization in plants. Okay, here this is also a standardized question. Here you have to draw the diagram. Here you can draw the diagram. My ஸ்டூடெண்ட் இந்த ப்ரோக்ராமுக்கு என்ட்ரி ஆகும்போது உங்களுக்குன்னு ஒரு நம்பர் அலாட் பண்ணியிருக்கிறாங்க. உங்களுக்குன்னு ஒரு நம்பர் அலாட் பண்ணியிருக்கிறாங்க. அந்த நம்பரை வச்சு என்ட்ரி ஆகுங்க. இல்லை உங்க பேர்ல வாங்க. அது வந்து யார் வராங்கன்றதை நம்ம தெரிஞ்சுக்கலாம். நீங்க ரெகுலரா வரீங்களான்றதை நம்ம ரெக்கார்ட் பண்ண முடியும். அதனால உங்க அட்டண்டன்ஸ் மிக முக்கியம். அதனால நீங்க கண்டினியூவா இருந்தால் தான் உங்களால தொடர்ந்து சப்ஜெக்ட் புரிஞ்சுக்கொள்ள முடியும். அதனால நீங்க யார் வர்றீங்களோ உங்களுக்கு உங்க சென்டர்ல இருந்து ஒரு நம்பர் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க, அலர்ட் பண்ணிருக்காங்க. அல்லது உங்க நேம் லிஸ்ட் என்கிட்ட இருக்கு, அந்த நேம் லிஸ்ட்லயாவது நீங்க வரணும். தயவுசெய்து இதை அவங்க அடிக்கடி சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்க. இதை வந்து நீங்க இதுல இருந்து நீங்க ஃபாலோ பண்ணுங்க. உங்க நம்பர்ல வாங்க. தெரியலன்னா நீங்க இங்க நேரடியா வந்து கேட்டு தெரிஞ்சுங்க. ஓகே. Okay, my student, here you can see the pollen grains. Ovule, structure of ovule வரைஞ்சீங்க இல்லையா, அதேதான். Here you can see. Here also you can see the cells. And what is this? This one is the pollen grain. Pollen grain. And this one is the pollen tube. Pollen tube. And this is the style. And this sigma. Sigma. And as usual, this is the embryo sac. Embryo sac. And this is the antipodal cell. Antipodal cells. And this is the polar nuclei. Polar nuclei. And this is the egg. Synergids. Synergids. Okay, this is the micropyle. The micropyle end. The micropyle end through which the pollen tube enters. Okay, my dear student, we will see the process of fertilization now. Okay, first we will start with the pollen grains. You know very well pollen grains. These pollen grains contains two types of cells. You know, one is the vegetative cells. Vegetative cells. Another one is generative cells. Generative cells. These vegetative cells produce pollen tube. The generative cells produce the gametes, male gametes. Okay, so this generate the pollen grains which germinate. So mainly the vegetative cells of the pollen grain produce a pollen tube which emerges out through the germ pore and immersed into the stigma and style, and finally reaches to the egg embryo sac through the micropyle. Okay, that you have to remember. In meantime, what happens? This another cell, generative cells which divide mitotically and produce two male gametes. So this is very important. Now the next step is very important, right? Out of these two male gametes, the first male gamete fuse with the egg. Fuse with the egg. You know very well, male gamete also N, egg also N haploid, which the fusion is called a syngamy. Fusion. This actually produce a diploid zygote. Okay, zygote. Diploid zygote. What about the other sperm? The second male gamete, which is also a haploid, fuse with the secondary nucleus, which is a diploid. This is very important. Diploid. And this fusion is called triple fusion. Since there are two types of fusion. One is syngamy, which produces diploid zygote. The other one is the male gamete fuse the secondary nucleus called triple fusion. Since there are two types of fertilization, it is also called a double fertilization. Very important. What is double fertilization? What is triple fusion? Double fertilization. Here there are, one is the syngamy, fusion of male gamete with egg. It produces zygote, diploid zygote, which develops into an embryo. The other one is the male gamete uses the secondary nucleus, which is a diploid nucleus, which develops into triple fusion. Triple fusion, as a result of triple fusion, which develops into primary endosperm. You know what is endosperm? Which provides nutrients to the developing embryo, right? Primary endosperm. This primary endosperm develops into endosperm. இப்போ ஒரு தேங்காயில நம்ம அந்த ஓட்டுக்குள்ள இருக்கிற அந்த பருப்பை சாப்பிடுறோம் இல்லையா, அதுதான் எண்டோஸ்பர்ம். அந்த தேங்காயில நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா மேல உச்சியில அந்த எம்பிரியோ இருக்கும், சின்னதா ஒரு பருப்பு மாதிரி இருக்கும். ஆனா அது வளர்றதுக்கு தேவையான சத்தெல்லாம் அந்த இல்ல இருக்கிற அந்த மீசோ கார்ப்பை எடுத்து வளருது இல்லையா, அதுதான் நம்ம எண்டோஸ்பர்ம் சொல்றோம். ஈவன் நீங்க ஒரு மல்லாட்டையில கூட நீங்க பாக்குறீங்க, இதுதான் ஒரு எம்பிரியோ. அப்படி பாக்குறீங்க, இந்த இடத்துல எம்பிரியோ இருக்கும், இந்த இடத்துல இது எண்டோஸ்பர்ம். ஸோ எண்டோஸ்பர்ம்னா என்ன? which provide nutrient energy to the developing embryo. அது வந்து ஒரு ட்ரிபிள் ஃபியூஷனால வருது, அதன்றதை நீங்க தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும். மீன் டைம் வேற என்னன்னா இங்க இருக்கு, ஆன்டிபோடல் செல்ஸ், சினர்ஜிட்ஸ் எல்லாம் வந்து ஒரு ஹோல்டிங் ஸ்ட்ரக்சர்ஸ் தான். at the end of the fertilization these things will degenerate. அப்படி நீங்க சொல்லணும், degeneration of antipodal cells and synergies. நீங்க இப்படி சொல்லி முடிச்சிட்டீங்கன்னா இது ஒரு மிக முக்கியம். இது வந்து ஒரு 4 மார்க் கொஸ்டின்ஸ் தான். ஒன்ஸ் அகேன் 4 மார்க்ஸ் கொஸ்டின்ஸ் ஈவன் வரும்போது டயக்ராமுக்கு 1 மார்க் வரும். அதனால 1 மார்க்கேன்னு சொல்லிட்டு வரையாம விட்டுறக்கூடாது. சில இடங்கள்ல இதையே 4 மார்க்லேயே கேட்கலாம், கொஸ்டின் அப்படி ஈஸியா கேட்கணும் போது ஒரு மிக முக்கியமான கான்செப்ட் ஏன் பையனை கேட்கக்கூடாது, இதை கேட்கும் போது நம்ம மிஸ் பண்ணிடுவோம். அதனால இது மாதிரி விஷயங்களை நம்ம கேர் எடுத்துக்கணும். இது எல்லாமே இது வரைக்கும் நம்ம பிளான்ஸ்ல வந்து என்னென்ன தலைப்புலாம் பார்த்துருக்குறோம் அப்படின்னா, ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் ஆஃப் pollen grains பார்த்தோம், ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் ஆஃப் கைனேஷன் பார்த்தோம், ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் ஆஃப் ஓவியூல் பார்த்தோம், ப்ராசஸ் ஆஃப் ஃபெர்டிலைசேஷன்ல பாலினேஷன் பார்த்தோம், அப்புறம் ப்ராசஸ் ஆஃப் ஃபெர்டிலைசேஷன் பார்த்தோம். இப்போ அடுத்தது வந்து இன்னும் 2 சின்ன தலைப்பு இருக்கு, அதுதான் மிக முக்கியம். சிக்னிஃபிகேஷன் significance or advantage of fertilization. இப்போ ஃபெர்டிலைசேஷனுடைய அட்வான்டேஜ் என்ன அப்படின்னு கேட்டா நீங்க பாலினேஷனுக்கு என்ன சொன்னீங்களோ அதை அப்படியே இங்க சொல்லலாம். ஃபெர்டிலைசேஷன் என்ன செய்யுது? ஃபெர்டிலைசேஷன் leads ovary develops into fruit and seed. அப்போ ஒரு ஃபிளார் வந்து ஃபெர்டிலைஸ் ஆனாதான் அதுல இருக்கிற ஓவரி அதுக்குள்ள இருக்கிற ஒவியூல் வந்து சீடா மாறும், ஓவரி வந்து ஃப்ரூட்டா மாறும். அப்ப ரெண்டாவது அட்வான்டேஜ் அங்க என்ன சொன்னீங்க? நியூ வெரைட்டிஸ். அதனால இந்த பாயிண்ட்ஸை வந்து நீங்க அங்க என்ன எழுதுறீங்களோ அப்படியே சொல்லுங்க. ரைட்டா? அட்வான்டேஜ் நியூ வெரைட்டிஸ் ஃபார்ம் பண்ணுது. ஏன்னா செக்ஷுவல் ரிப்ரொடக்ஷன்ல மட்டும்தான் உங்களால நியூ வெரைட்டிஸை நீங்க பார்க்க முடியும். ரைட்டா? இது ரெண்டு சிக்னிஃபிகன்ஸ். அதை விட மிக முக்கியம் போஸ்ட் ஃபெர்டிலைசேஷன் சேஞ்சஸ். நல்லா கவனிங்க, இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் போட்டு வச்சுங்க, மிக முக்கியம். ஏன் முக்கியம்னா இது 2 மார்க்ஸ்ல வரலாம், அல்லது இதுக்குள்ள இருந்து ஒரு 1 வேர்டு டீப்பா கேட்கணும், பையன் தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறானான்னு கேட்கணும்னா இது வந்து செக் பண்ணுவாங்கல்ல. போஸ்ட் ஃபெர்டிலைசேஷன் சேஞ்சஸ் எப்படின்னா கான்செப்ட் ரொம்ப சிம்பிள். இப்போ பாருங்களேன், ஒரு ஃபிளார்ல வந்து நீங்க என்னென்ன பாக்குறீங்க? ஓவரி இருக்கு, இன்ட்யூக்மெண்ட் இருக்கு, அடுத்தது ஒவியூல் இருக்கு. ரைட்டா? இப்போ ஆஃப்டர் ஃபெர்டிலைசேஷன் இது என்னவா மாறும்? இதான் கேள்வி. போஸ்ட் ஃபெர்டிலைசேஷன் ஓவரி சேஞ்சஸ் இன்டு ஃப்ரூட், இன்ட்யூக்மெண்ட் சேஞ்சஸ் இன்டு சீட் கோட், ஒவியூல் சேஞ்சஸ் இன்டு சீட். இப்போ நீங்க ஒரு மாம்பழத்தை எடுத்துக்கிறீங்க, மாம்பழத்துல இருக்கிற அந்த சதைப்பகுதி இருக்குல்ல சாப்பிட்றோம், அது என்னது? அது ஓவரி தான் அது ஃப்ரூட்டா மாறிடுச்சு. அதுக்குள்ள இருக்கிற சீடு, அது பருப்பு, அதுக்கு மேல ஒரு கடினமான ஓடு இருக்கு பாருங்க, அது சீட் கோட். அது என்ன? இன்ட்யூக்மெண்ட். அந்த ஒவியூல்ல இருக்கிற அந்த இன்ட்யூக்மெண்ட் தான் அந்த சீட் கோட்டா மாறுது. அந்த ஓவரியில இருக்கிற ஒவியூல், ஃபீமேல் கேமெட், அதுதான் சீடா மாறுது. இதுதான் போஸ்ட் ஃபெர்டிலைசேஷன் சேஞ்சஸ். ரொம்ப முக்கியம். இதை நீங்க படிக்கலாம். ஸோ இது வரைக்கும் நம்ம இந்த பிளான்ட் பாப்புலேஷன் இதுல வந்து ஒரு 6 தலைப்பு பார்த்துருக்கோம். ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் ஆஃப் pollen grains, structure of gynoecium, structure of ovule, then process of fertilizationல, sexual reproductionல, pollination, types of pollination, advantages, disadvantages. அடுத்தது fertilization, process of fertilization, significance, post fertilization changes. Next we will see sexual reproduction in man in next class. Thank you.